everybody, and welcome. Tonight we are going to be talking some options on how to sell your home if you are looking to use that sale to pay for care, for assisted living, for memory care, for skilled nursing. And we're going to have senior real estate expert, real estate agent Ben Meyer on with us to walk us through how to do this. Now, our comments section has been a little bit spicy when it came to folks' opinion on that. And I want to note that truly when we're looking at options of how to pay for care, just consider this an option and nothing more, nothing less. Everyone's free to make a decision. I thought I saw somebody in the comments saying, please see an elder attorney, and you should absolutely do that. You can see an elder attorney, you can talk to a real estate agent, you could talk to whoever you would like. This is just one of many, many options. All right, I'm going to invite. Next month, just so we know, we are going to have a big workshop. We only do this 2 times a year. This is unrelated to what we're doing tonight. Hi, Ben, welcome.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I sure can.
Cool.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we can give it another minute. I know usually you wait for people to join.
It's all good. I was just telling folks about the big workshop we have coming up. It's totally for free for caregivers. We're talking the top 4 most common challenging behaviors that you'll see in dementia. Oftentimes it catches people off guard that it's more than them just being forgetful.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an awesome time. But anyways, Ben, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to Dementia Success Path. And thank you for giving us some knowledge and some information that hopefully some folks who need care right now, who might not qualify for Medicaid because of their property and because of assets they have a solid option to pay for care. I know for a fact it's something I know in my family we're looking at as an option for the future. So it's awesome. So Ben, real quick, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah. My name is Ben Meyer. I'm an associate broker out here in Denver. Love being a real estate agent. Love serving people. I have a beautiful wife and an 11-month-old son, and that's a little bit about me. Yeah,
and you got specifically certified to help seniors in particular in the Denver area. So tell us a little bit about why you chose to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a senior real estate specialist, and I'm sure we're going to get into that more later, but basically it's an SRES designation. And so you have the NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, and that is what it sounds like. It's the biggest network for realtors, and within the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, this SRES designation is the only designation that is specific to seniors. So those who are realtors that really want to focus on seniors and really want to make sure that they're taking care of them to the best of their ability. They go through some further education, they go through some courses, and they get this official certification or designation called an SRES. So not every real estate agent is an SRES, but it's really great to be one and to be just a little bit extra equipped to be able to serve seniors.
That's awesome. Yeah, so if anybody watching right now or watching the replay is thinking about going this route, that's definitely a good thing to look out for in your area. Or if you happen to be in Denver, you can look for Ben. All right. Okay, well, we'll just jump right into it. So, mom or dad is living in their home independently, and you realize they can't live independently anymore. They need care right now. So it's a wonderful idea to see an elder attorney. Mm-hmm. We all should do that anyways, regardless of how much time we have. But we don't qualify for Medicaid because we have a house, we have assets and stuff like that. What would be the first step that, let's say, a caregiver or even a spouse of someone with dementia who's looking to sell their home would do?
Yeah, let me reiterate that point that you made, and also I think somebody commented earlier before the live started, or at the beginning of the live, seeing an elder attorney is absolutely necessary, right? So I'm not an attorney. I'm a licensed real estate broker, associate broker, right? I have my SRES designation. I've done what I can to be educated to serve my clients to the best of my ability. But you need to see an elder attorney because they're really going to be able to give you more direction. And, you know, sometimes they'll connect you with an agent. You know, sometimes they'll give you some extra information. And that also carries into one other thing that was mentioned. You know, primarily today, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to sell a home, right? Or maybe even purchase a home in some cases for a senior. But in some cases, renting does make sense, right? So if you have a loved one that is able to kind of oversee that rental process, or you have a trusted rental company that you can go through and be able to rent out that property, that's a great option, right? Again, we'll probably go into this later on, but you got to make sure you have a home that's rentable, right? So for the most part, you need to have a home that's you know, on the more updated side, right? Just so it's going to rent better. You're going to want a home that doesn't require a lot of maintenance. So although renting is a great option, and that might be an option for your senior, in most cases, it's a little bit more difficult to rent it out. And so, you know, selling the home in order to, you know, get that equity out of that home and be able to provide so that, you know, you can pay for that care, right, in a facility. And just to add on that too, you know, there's also the option of doing a reverse mortgage and taking out some of that equity and doing in-home care there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of many, many options. And what made me think of you is at one time I was working for Brookdale. I don't work for them anymore, but at one point I was, and it was a very frequent thing that a lot of folks would do is they would sell their home in order to be able to have the lifestyle that they were looking to have as seniors. And we saw it quite frequently where maybe their loved one or maybe their spouse had some early dementia and they wanted to build up their community and independent living first. And where I was working in particular, they had independent living and assisted living and memory care. So they could kind of go through their whole journey in one community in one place and have more of that robust support, especially when family wasn't readily available. So there's plenty of reasons why folks would decide, okay, a senior living community is right for me at this juncture, and I'm okay with selling my home in order to give myself that option. So great. Okay, so let's assume, you know, we've reviewed the options, and kind of like some clients I would have seen in my past working in senior living, we've decided that selling the house is the right option for us. What's the first thing that we would do?
Yeah, so you know, I could really stretch out this question. I'll try to keep it simpler, right? I mean, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to need to find an agent, right? There's a ton of ways to sell a home, and we can go through some of those, whether you're rehabbing it or you're selling it as is, or you're selling it to an investor. There's a ton of ways to sell a home. And sometimes people want to bypass an agent, right? They think that they can kind of handle that process, but really what ends up happening is people often get burned, right? I mean, I'll just throw a stat at you really quick. On average, this past year, homes that were on the MLS sold for 18.6% higher than those that never hit the MLS. And so that's whether it's sold rehabbed or as is or in any condition. When a home is sold through an MLS, which is through an agent, right, where they post on their service, right, which then goes to Zillow and Realtor.com and Redfin and all those places, sells on average for 18% more, which is really crazy, right? I mean, even for me as an agent, it's surprising that it's that high. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to need to hire an agent, right? Because an agent's going to be able to help you to get the most out of the equity of your home, to be able to make the most money as possible for you so that you can really make sure that you're stretching out that living situation and also making sure that you're getting in the best home that you can, right? Because we know there's different types of homes. We know there's different type of cares. And unfortunately, we know that the amount of money that you have in your pocket to a degree sometimes has an impact on the place you end up, right? And we want to make sure our seniors are cared for. So in finding an agent, I'll just mention a few things. You want to make sure that you're finding an agent that's knowledgeable, of course, in their craft, right? But I'll say this, there are many amazing, great real estate agents that maybe aren't amazing, great real estate agents for seniors, right? They're really good at what they do, but maybe they don't understand that sometimes, they need to talk a little louder, talk a little softer. Sometimes they need to sit at the kitchen table with that senior or the loved one and really just hang out with them for a couple hours. The process just looks a lot different when you're working with a senior, right? I mean, I'll just be honest. In the real estate game, most people know this. It's to the pavement, right? You're going hard all day, and when it comes to seniors, that's just not the way that we can operate. We need to slow our pace down, and we need to love on people. And so the first thing is finding the right real estate agent. And going back to the SRES designation, that's a great way to be able to check some of those boxes if you don't know an agent that's going to be able to serve you the way that your senior needs, right? So again, Google SRES and fill out the form, and you can find an SRES senior real estate specialist in your neighborhood. But just a few of those options. Let me know if I'm on too much of a tangent, Krista.
Yeah, no worries.
But so I'll touch on 3 of them, right? So when you're selling, you might want to rehab, right? And here's some questions I wrote down. If you're thinking about rehabbing before you sell, right? Do you need to rehab? Is it really going to improve your equity, right, before you go to market? And these are things you can go through with your agent. Do you have money to rehab, right? There's always the option of a reverse mortgage to take money out of your equity, but that's going to take another 45 days. Do you have time to rehab, right? I mean, you're looking at a minimum of 90 days if you're going to rehab before you're going to get that cash in your pocket. And so, although in most cases you're going to make the most out of your home when you do a rehab, it's also going to take longer than anything else. So do you have that time? And do you have that capacity? Do you have loved ones or people that can come alongside you? Are you willing to pay an agent a little bit extra so that they're able to do more than their normal agent duties to be able to walk through that rehab with you? In some cases, they'll do that. The second situation would be going to market as is. If your home is in good condition, then you can totally do that. But, at the end of the day, there's a risk there, right? It might sit on the market longer. You don't know how much you're going to get. And then the third option would be to sell to an investor, right? Now, you're almost never going to get as much money as you would if you were to go to market, but you're going to get that cash in maybe a week or 2 weeks' time. So for a senior especially, if they need that money today, going through an investor might be the best route. But again, going back to it, talk to an elder attorney, right? Talk to a real estate agent. Go to people. You don't need to be the expert. There's people that want to fight for you and work with you. And, your agent's going to turn you to probably their attorney and help you through the process.
Yeah, I see Kat Bailey 2016 has a great question for us. She said, what about selling under power of attorney? The person with dementia doesn't know that you're looking to sell the home. So yeah, that's a super, have you worked with POAs and selling homes before?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, every situation is different, right? So I've worked with POAs in the past, and, in most cases, it's a pretty simple situation, right? The title company will give you a form if you don't already have POA of the state. And what they do with that form is they send you out with a notary, usually, to the senior and to the person who's currently left in charge of them, right, or helping them along. And the form is pretty easy to get filled out. In the case of someone that is, further down the line and maybe has difficulty with getting that form filled out, the title company can usually help sending out the proper people, again, sending out the notary and helping you figure out the POA. But in my experience, we've been able to figure out power of attorney, and this isn't the way you typically want to go, but we've been able to figure that out after we were under contract, right?
Oh, wow.
And that's not the way you want to go. The reason why that happened was because the POA we found out later wasn't notarized. And so they had to get it after we were under contract, and they had it within a couple days, right? So that is not best case scenario. But my point is a POA is not the end of the world. There's a lot of ways to work through that.
Absolutely. And just for some context, I know you were talking a lot about speed in which you can get that sale done. For those, I guess, who are just reviewing options right now, I know that can feel kind of scary, but the truth is you don't know when a fall is going to happen. You don't know when crisis is going to hit you, when, let's just say mom or dad or grandma, grandpa, whoever in your family has been chugging along okay on their own, and then one day they're just not, and they need that help right now. So that's why I know we're not talking about the speed in which we do things to try to, as a sales tactic or to pressure folks. It's just honestly the nature of a lot of physical things that can happen or crises that can happen. So anyways, I love all those options as far as what we can do to maybe get the home ready, or some options we have. So let's say that we're wanting to sell the home, we're ready for it. What after we've prepped the house, or we just decided we're going to sell as is, what happens after that?
So once we decide we're going to sell it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So again, I want to go back to that original question, right? If we're working with the right agent, they're going to be able to walk you through some of those steps. For me, is this more of a marketing question or getting that home ready?
Yeah, so I think I was looking at it a little bit more logistically, and I see Kat Bailey ask another great question. Kat, hopefully you'll hang on here for a second because I want to get to it. But I'm thinking in terms of more like, we've hired you as our realtor, Ben. We've already decided, we're going to sell our home as is.
Yeah.
What would be the next step on our path with you?
Sure. Yeah. So we would sit down and we would begin to discuss, of course, like, what are we going to do? Let's just assume we're selling it as is, right? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to want to figure out your timeline, like we spoke about before, right? And then once we figure out your timeline, we're going to figure out pricing, right? And so there's a few ways we figure out pricing, and I'll keep that brief. But basically, we're going to look at the market, right? What does the market look like? We're going to look at the condition of the home when we're going to sell it. And of course, we're going to look at comps, which is just comparative properties. So we're going to look at what are the homes around that are similar, right? And we're going to figure out, hey, what's a good pricing for this for us to be competitive? And pricing also has to do with timeline, right? If we don't have a lot of time, maybe we'll be a little bit more competitive in that pricing. And another thing on pricing is so difficult, just because, we all want to attribute a certain value to our home. And sometimes, especially with seniors, like, we might have a need when it comes to money. And so I just want to acknowledge, we can't always get the price that we want, right? Sometimes we have to get what it's worth, right? And so with that, when we recognize we're going to get what it's worth, not necessarily what we want, that's when some of those things come along that we want to do to make the home a little bit nicer and ready to sell, right? So even if we're not doing a full-on rehab, some of the major things that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make sure we majorly declutter it, and we're going to want to make sure we majorly clean it, right? And so every home's going to look different, right? But we want to make sure we declutter, and we want to make sure we clean. And just something on that, before the call, Chris, we spoke a little bit about, hey, does cleaning and decluttering really have any impact? And, I just want to say, I can't give you a direct percentage on cleaning and decluttering, but I can tell you that staging, according to NAR, when you prep a home and you present it well with staging, the home can sell for between 1% and 5% more than what it would have without staging, right? And so we know that cleaning and decluttering is within that same category as staging. It's presentation, right? So even if you can't afford to do a full-on rehab, we want to make sure that, we do the little things with the home that are going to make it stick out. We're going to want to clean and declutter it. If we can do a little bit of paint, if you have the right agent, they're going to come in and help you do those things very price efficiently. One of the other things that we're going to do is, and I don't want to get ahead on any of your questions, but one of the other things we're going to do immediately is we're going to figure out, hey, you're a senior, you've been here for a long time, maybe, and I want to be very sensitive to this as an agent, because the stuff we have is connected to our memories, right? Our home can be filled with a million memories, but we got to figure out where a lot of our things are going to go. And odds are, if you're going to a senior home, you're not going to be able to bring most of your stuff, your memories with you, right? And so, of course, family will come in, and they might take what they want if that's an option. But one of the things I always do as an agent with my clients is I bring an estate person in, an estate sales rep, immediately in before I do anything. And what they'll do for free is they'll look at the home and they'll see, hey, does this home have things that are of value that could be set up for an estate sale? Maybe we can get a little bit more money out of this home for this senior, right, to be able to take care of them. And so a lot of times they'll charge a flat fee, right, a retainer fee, and then they'll charge off the profits of what they sell. Now, with that being said, estate sales usually take like 3 weeks to prep, right? So if you need to sell your home tomorrow, an estate sale might not be an option for you. But what an estate salesperson can also do is they'll come in and they'll say, hey, there might be things that we have of value that we can set up for an estate sale. Or, hey, maybe this home doesn't quite have the things that would make sense for an estate sale. And a lot of times they'll connect you with somebody to help you get rid of that stuff. Yeah, they make those connections for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's also great about having that help with selling your home as well, is that you can really get folks connected with even more resources in the community to help with that process.
Right.
Let's see, I'll go ahead with Kat's question, and then I know J. Rowe had a question as well. So Kat says, my aunt cannot know. She thinks she still thinks she's going to go home at some point. And I guess this falls more a little bit on my side, less on the real estate side of things. Mm-hmm. If your aunt can't know, usually how I like to frame these things is I don't like for it to be a lie. And what I mean by that is saying, oh, we're just going to this place for lunch and then never leaving ever again. Like I don't love that. Usually what tends to work the best is saying, this is something we're trying out, or, heck, we can even use the decluttering type thing, saying, we're having some folks come in and decluttering and sprucing up the place a little bit. They can visually see that. So that's true. It's like, we'll just try out this senior community and see what you think. And because the truth is, with any senior living community, nothing ever has to be absolutely permanent when it comes to senior living communities. So in truth, they are trying it out. So that way they know that they're moving, but there's still that feeling of control. Like, at least if I don't like it, then I don't necessarily have to do it, which maybe for your aunt, the rental option might work for her, where she could still retain the house, still be able to pay for her care. So it just depends. Everybody's situation differs. Let's see. And this next one might be a better question for you, Ben. This is definitely more real estate-ish question. J. Rose says, if you have funds now, is it best to wait to sell the home when all the other funds are gone, or sell early? So if you have both the home and assets as a real estate agent, would you think, is it better to use those resources first and then sell your home as like your last line of money that you have still to pay for care? Or do you think it's better just to sell the home first? And I know you're going to give an unbiased view. You're an awesome guy. So
I think that is a super situational question, right? So if you have the funds to pay for care and you're going into care immediately, I might ask you, hey, what's the point of you keeping the home around, right? Like, are you looking to rent it? Do you have family that's still living there? Is there still a use for that? And let me say, if there's not a use and you're thinking, hey, I want to hold on to it, hope that it continues to build in value. Another question I might ask is, oftentimes when these homes sit around, they begin to deteriorate, right? So if you're not going to have somebody looking over that property, you're not going to have a renter, and it's just going to be vacant, personally, I'm always going to say sell, right? But if you have a reason to keep that property, whether it's family or renting or whatever it is, then hey, why not take advantage of that? Why not continue to build your equity? And why not use the funds that you already have? Now, another thing that is tagged into that is, hey, do you have a mortgage, right? Are you going to be having to pay for a mortgage on the home that you're in and paying for your care facility? So I'm not going to say there's one answer to this. It's very situational. What I am going to say is this is another time where we bring in an elder attorney, somebody that's going to be able to help you through those assets, what makes sense with taxes, questions like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's just say, we're getting towards the end of the process. So like, how fast from start to finish is it possible to sell your home in order to pay for care? Like, what would you say is, like, I guess the shortest amount of time and maybe like the longest amount of time, just so we have a good sense of what's available to us?
Yeah, so the fastest route would be the investor route, right? And with an investor route, sometimes like they'll front you some cash, right? Even before closing. It just depends, right? Within that contract, it depends, right? But with that being said, if you go through an investor, the question is also, hey, what are you selling, right? Are you selling a single family, or are you selling a condo within an HOA, right? Sometimes those HOA docs will they take a couple weeks before title can figure it out, right? So in a super fast situation, let's say 10 days on a closing, but if we're going the rehab route, we don't know how long it's going to sit on the market. I mean, you might be looking at a minimum of 3 months, right? That being said, Krista, maybe you could speak into this,
Sure.
you worked at the care facility in the past.
Sure.
It is my understanding that sometimes they will work with you, right? Like if they understand
Yeah.
your home is for sale.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a wonderful point. So if you guys are curious, I used to work in sales for senior living. So what an option you can have when you're negotiating that, let's say you find a place that you absolutely love and they're filling up and you want to hold like your perfect unit there. What oftentimes, like my hot tip on this, since I was doing it, and I don't care about giving away my secrets now because I don't work there but anymore, but show up at the end of the month. Show up, I promise you, they want to close.
Yeah.
They will give you so many awesome deals. Like that's when they are like, just so everybody understands, like I'm giving y'all some real insider information. Each senior living place has a certain amount of budget, and they call it incentive budget each month for each person. And I'd say roughly it's like a certain couple $1,000s of incentives that they can give you. And a great one you can use is they can give you like 2-3 months for free. So essentially what would happen is, let's say you signed your contract in what's now the last day of August. So today would be a great example of that. Let's just say you signed your lease the last day of August, and you're just like, I want to give myself, 3 months to sell my home and get that ball rolling. Oftentimes they can give you that incentive where maybe you pay for the month of August, but then you don't pay for the months of September, October, like September, October, November. So then that next month's rent that's coming up is in December. So that gives you plenty of wiggle room in order to sell your home, to get the rest of the funds, but also you get that awesome, sweet place that you were looking at. It works very similarly if you want like discounts, if you want, like, heck, I've closed deals by this one lady insisted on having like a brand new shower, and if they want that sale bad enough, they'll make it happen. I'll tell you what, I made that sale happen, and
they installed it.
I got her what she wanted. Yeah. That's the thing, is that I think a lot of us really feel like the sales aspect of it is scary. But what's awesome though is you can really, someone who's really hungry to sell will also it can very much work in your favor if you time it right. I don't know if it works quite the same with real estate, but definitely in senior living, if you time it right, if you go in at the end of the month when they're looking to close, you can ask for all kinds of and get more of what you want for more time, less money, the works. So anyways, insider tip on senior living.
Good, that's a good tip.
Hopefully they, my past employers won't be mad at me. But yeah, definitely. So anyways, getting back to amount of time. So it could be as soon as like investors hand you cash and you're just like, all right, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. We're in our new place.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, right? Like they might, and in some cases, like an investor might say, hey, we'll give you a loan up front before we close, right? So yeah, you can have cash very quickly. Now, of course, if you're working in that situation, you're going to sell it for less than maybe it's worth. So, that's why asking those questions. What is my timeline? How much money do I need? Can I wait a little bit? Those questions are really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And someone that's really interested in serving, like, is going to ask a bunch of questions. And I know, Ben, you're always interested in serving our seniors. Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. So, is now a good time in the market. I'm sure that's probably why a lot of people are watching now. So
Sure.
we're watching all these crazy interest rates happen in the market. Uh, like, would now be like, what is the market looking like now?
Yeah, great question. Well, I mean, first of all, we have to recognize that nobody can time the market, right?
Mm.
So everybody wants to act like they know exactly what's going to happen next month or the following month. They know what's going to happen tomorrow, but nobody knows, right? We just don't have control of the market, and we can't know for sure what's going to happen. So, the best time to sell your home is when you need that money for moving to a care facility, right? But on the very objective sense, if we want to look at what the market looks like right now, I can answer some of those questions as well, right? So in the last 28 years, we are at an all-time low in mortgage applications. And so what that means is in the last 28 years, we have less people that are applying to get a loan to purchase a home. This is the lowest in the last 28 years. So we definitely have a lot less buyers, right? In the Denver Metro, because I'm an agent in the Denver Metro, we know that last month the average sales price was around 590, right? So homes are still, very solid in price. We're not seeing a major dip in price. We're actually still seeing an increase. And in some situations, we're still seeing multiple offer situations, right? So rates are at around 8% right now, which is higher than we've seen in really the last 20 years. We haven't seen 8% rates in a long time. And so rates are high. Supply is still very low. In the Denver Metro, we're at around 6,000 active listings right now. Comparatively to when we were just in the housing boom, 2008, Denver Metro had 32,000 listings, right? So 32,000, 6,000. A lot more people live in Denver now, right? So that being said, rates are high, right? We're seeing a lot less mortgage applications than we've seen in the last 28 years. But we don't have enough houses. And so it's actually really interesting. The chief economist of NAR just this past month, he believes, and again, it's also his opinion, nobody knows anything for sure. He believes we're not going to see a crash, right? He believes that we may still see a correction, but he believes as far as the housing market, we're not going to see a recession soon. And the reason why he backs that up is for this reason. In history, we on average see between 10 to 20% new homes taking up the active listing market, right? So let's say you have 100 homes on the market. There's usually between 10 to 20 of those 100 homes that are new home builds. Right now, it's 1/3, right? So we have not seen that in a very, very, very long time, right? And so what we're seeing is new home builders are actually hiring workers, and they're actually ramping up new builds, and that's because we don't have enough homes. We're in a housing shortage right now. And so rates are high. We're not seeing enough mortgage applications, but at the end of the day, there's more people on the earth than there was 5 years ago, and we need a lot more homes. So it is a good time to sell. We're definitely coming into the slower months here in Denver, at least. But if you need the money, you're going to be able to sell your home for probably more than what you bought it for.
Yeah, especially if you're a senior, you're probably going to buy it for a lot more.
Yep, that's right.
A lot more money. You'll have like it depends. If you're like one of my former clients who was looking to live the independent assisted living and the memory care life because they had a very early dementia diagnosis. Mm-hmm. Chances are that house is going to get you through for quite some time.
That's right.
To get you there. It's a little different when it's when you're paying for skilled nursing though. Skilled nursing, which is the highest level of care, the most expensive level of care aside from like 24-hour home health, like care and private care in your home. Mm-hmm. Goodness, that can run probably around like $10,000 to $12,000 a month. Yeah. So, it very much depends on what type of care your loved one needs. Personally, if it's possible to do a lower level of care, i.e. assisted living or even memory care, honestly, you're going to have your loved one's it's going to be a better time for them. Yeah. Overall, because it's more home-like and less medicalized. Mm-hmm. Versus what it would be in skilled. So I guess any last thoughts as far as what we should know about selling or the market or anything like that, Ben?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, I took some notes here, but we covered a lot of stuff here. Um, yeah, I think we covered a lot. I don't know if there's any final questions from the people that are watching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put it in chat. We'd be happy to answer it, whether it be me or Ben. Um, let's see. I know Jamie asked, what's the typical turnaround time to get the most money for your home? That's a good question.
The typical turnaround for the most money. So like a best case scenario. Is that right? In a best case scenario, your home is in okay condition or good condition, right? We go on market at a competitive price. We go under contract right away. Let's say you have a cash buyer, a couple week close. Most cases, it's not going to be a cash buyer. Say you have a conventional loan, you're looking at around a 30-day close. Best case scenario, most money that you can make if your home's in good condition. Let's say you have that money in a month if we go under contract right away. But again, the market doesn't lie. Sometimes you sit longer, even with a great listing. So
Yeah, sometimes that'll happen for sure. Let's see. Jamie said he got another question, probably from comments earlier, saying, someone told me they can't bring themselves to sell their mom's home without telling her first. Kind of like what I was saying earlier. I'm not a proponent of like the sneak them in method, like where they have no clue that they're moving at all, or they have no clue that they're staying somewhere else at all. I'm not a fan of that at all. I prefer a reason. If that person's absolutely not going to hear, like they just, for whatever reason, or like, I'm going to die in my home, but they absolutely can't live at home anymore, and it's just not possible. So usually, again, I like to do the approach of trying it out, but if that even doesn't work, something I like to also say is, we're decluttering, we're doing repairs on the home that's just going to make a mess of everything. We found this awesome senior community that you can stay at for now or try out for now. So again, they know that they're making a transition. So it's a lot less traumatic for them to feel like their family just abandoned them, or what have you. I just find that a lot smoother, and it's definitely useful, I know, for everybody involved, for sure. So anyways, Ben, where can we find you if we happen to be in the Denver area? Or I know you were saying you're really big on also referrals as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to work with you if you're in the Denver area. If you're within an hour of Denver, I'd love to serve you. And although I'm an SRES, a senior specialist, and I love working with seniors, I do work with everybody. I love to work with everybody, whether it's buying or selling. And so that being said, you can email me. I know that's an easy way. My email is Realtor, REALTOR, Ben, BEN, Meyer, MEYER, @gmail.com. Or I believe I'm going to be attached to this video. If you want to click my profile, Denver Metro Realty, you can click the link in my bio, and you can just put in your name and number, and I can reach out to you. But also, if you're not in the Denver area and you're just looking to connect with a good agent, SRES agent, apart from going on the website and finding an agent that way, I personally would love to refer you out. I'd love to make that connection. I'd love to hear about your needs and connect you with the right agent. It'd really be my honor to be able to do that and be a part of that process.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you everybody for coming to watch. And again, be on the lookout, everybody, for my big free workshop that's coming up in next month. We're going to have signups come up very, very soon. So just keep tuning in, and definitely check out Ben if you're looking for a referral or you live in Denver.
Please do. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.